throughout all of history, every society that survived based on training its boys and men to be disposable. Disposable in war, disposable in the workplace, and disposable potentially, therefore, as dads, since many people who died in war, died at work, were fathers. And so women fell in love with men who were not the whining men who expressed their feelings, or men who expressed their feelings were called whining men, but women fell in love with alpha men. And part of being an alpha man was being able to be willing to go to war. In World War I, there was a white feather campaign of men who did not go to war, were given white feathers by women in public places like churches to disgrace them and shame them, to show what a lack of courage they had. So women fell in love with men who were performers, who was killer protectors. The problem with those men is that the qualities that we learned to be killer protectors, that is, the qualities that we learned for women to love us, were exactly or inversely related to the qualities that it learns that are needed for love. So, for example, if I'm a very famous attorney, the chances are a lot of women would be interested in me if I were single, or even if I wasn't single. But in the process of being that really good attorney, I'm learning to listen to my opposing attorney for a couple of seconds, pick up the gist of what he says or she says, find out the flaw in what they say, figure out how I can interrupt them effectively, and then throw them off and bring my contributions to the center of the floor. The problem is, and that works well for my client. My client more clients hire me. I'm a successful attorney. But it works terribly for my relationship with my wife. If I start thinking about when she starts talking, if I start solving a problem or finding the flaw in what she says and thinking about that while she's talking, she feels unheard, unseen, unloved. And even though I think I'm providing all this money during the day because that's my way of showing her love, she feels unloved. So she's vulnerable to having affairs. She's vulnerable for buying excess amounts of shoes on sale because that's the way she gets love. If I do the same type of behavior with my children, they don't feel loved or seen either. And so the qualities that it takes to make men attracted to women are often the qualities that it takes to make men unlovable. And that's the new opportunity we have for the future, is to reshape the gift that we ask men to bring to love, the gift of knowing how to be sensitive, caring, loving, and facilitative, and at the same time still knowing how to perform and take risks and be honored for that as well. Part of what we say about guys is that it's all we care about is sex. So we're really surprised when the studies show that when boys and girls and young men and women in their 20s break up, boys are dealing with more mental health problems than the girls are, because so frequently we don't have an attitude toward boys that we care about their feelings, and as a result of all they care about is sex, and then not reaching out to boys and saying, my God, it's really, talk to me when you've broken up, it must really be hurtful, and to help them heal. We sort of discard it very quickly. It's not gone into the man, and the man starts acting out. He starts driving quickly. He goes out and drinks. He does things like maybe tries to prove himself that he's lovable with the next girl and oversteps his bounds and is on the risk of date rape. And so and that's all in part a result of not helping him feel respected for sharing his feelings and opening up and dealing with himself fully. And so as we go around and we laugh at men for just caring about sex, let's realize there's a price that we pay for that laughter, which is the hardening of our feelings toward the pain of men. And that hardening of our feelings toward the pain of men is deeply in our psyche, because when I said before that every society that has survived based on training its boys and men to be disposable. Well, if you train men to be disposable in war, in order to be able to handle death, you have to disconnect from your feelings. The more you feel hurt and pain, the less willing you are to be, the less willing you'll be to go out and risk death. When boys and men learn, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Not when the going gets tough, the the guy calls a therapist, and and so there's that connection there, and then that creates a disconnect. The boy turns inward, and his outward manifestation is a Sandy Hook, and the killing of our sons, and the killing of our daughters, and the killing of teachers, because he couldn't be able to have his pain expressed outwardly. So if we don't pay attention to this, the whole society is going to be paying attention through the back door as a result of events like Sandy Hooks and mass murders and serial killings.